Other tubers, tubettes, various crazy people. It's me and Gaylord coming at you tonight, and we're going to do a little video called And Then You're Dead. Doesn't that sound like fun? But the whole purpose of doing this video is every now and then the whole thought about dying and death pops into my head. And it doesn't generate any fear or anything like that. I have a faith system in place, so I'm really quite comfortable with the thought. In fact, real quickly, I'll just share with you that in 2010, I was at a job in California, and I experienced this huge pain in my chest and numbness in my arm and throbbing in my throat, neck area. And fortunately, I was with some coworkers, and they realized that I was having an episode of some type, and they called an ambulance for me. And I got into they put me into the ambulance, and they started putting all the monitors and whatnot on me. And I'll never forget, the paramedic looked at me and said, "Mr. McGill, you're experiencing a full-blown heart attack. You're having a cardiac episode, a major cardiac episode. And we're gonna get you to the hospital just as quick as possible." So sirens are blaring, and these guys never stopped moving. And the pain was so intense in my whole upper part of my chest. And the look on these people's face, they were total pros, and very good at what they do. The look on their face was one of concern. It was not a reassuring look on the bunch. There was 3 or 4 of them back there with me. And like I said, they never stopped moving and setting me up. And when he said major, he meant it, and it was. That's not the point. The point is I was lying there. I figured that because of the look on their faces and this pain that I was experiencing, I just figured that was it. That was my last day on the planet. And there was absolutely, positively not an inch of fear inside of me. What I did say, because I have a spiritual life, and I believe in God, and I believe in an afterlife. If you don't like it, so well, that's me. But I spoke to God as we were hauling down Highway 111 in the high desert of California. And I said, really? I had so much more to do. And I wasn't mad, I wasn't scared. I was actually accepting this fate, if you will. And I just felt, oh, darn it, I've got plans. And if you follow me at all, my plans back then were to come here in the Philippines. Because I knew that if I could, or to sell, actually to Asia back in 2010. I hadn't dialed in on the Philippines yet. So, obviously, that didn't happen. I survived that event. And it really didn't change me a whole lot. I was actually glad that it happened when it happened and where it happened. Because had it taken place somewhere else at a different time, maybe I was alone or at home asleep by myself, I never would have pulled through it. So I found the whole event to have been somewhat of a blessing. And that, but I'd love to tell you that it caused me to change my behaviors and my lifestyle. It didn't. It honestly didn't. I guess I'm just stubborn in all of that. So I didn't get that message. But what I lean back on more than that event are a couple of phrases that guys have given me over the last 30 years. And there was a time when I was thinking about starting a business. This is back in, well, the 70s, or the 80s, I'm sorry. And I was talking to a gentleman that I kind of knew, but wasn't really close to. But he was a good guy to talk to and run things by because he was non-judgmental. and he was a good listener, and he was just an independent third party. And every now and then we'd bump into each other, and we'd say, hey, you want to go get a cup of coffee, or you drink a beer, or whatever? And say, sure. And we'd go and chat for a little while, and that would be that. And so he was asking me what was going on, and I said, well, I'm really kind of under a lot of stress. And he said, why? And I said, well, I can't stand the work I'm doing, and I want to start my own business, but I really don't know how. I have an idea, I have a plan, but I don't have a business plan. It's just sort of a daydream, man. I said, I know what I want to do, I know what I want to sell, I know what I want to, but I don't know the mechanics of it. I don't know how to apply for a business license. I don't know how to factor in rent or write an actual business plan, profit and loss, and projections. I said, all that's just beyond me. I wasn't educated. I didn't go to college. And he said, well, is that your biggest concern? That you don't know the mechanics? He says, because, that's something that's you can overcome. You can research all of that. You can ask people that are in the know, and you can acquire that information, Paul. And I said, yeah, you're right. I says, I imagine if I did my due diligence and dug into it, I could. I said, but my biggest fear is that what people are going to think of me, because I'm going into this thing blind, and I don't know what I'm doing, and I can accept failure. I can accept the fact that, in fact, I'm pretty sure I will fail. Because I just don't know what I'm doing. I'm a realist. I'm not a dreamer. But it's just something that I want to do. But I said, actually, to be honest with you, Don, that was his name, I said, I'm terrified, if you will, of exposing my underbelly to all these people and let them watch me flounder and screw up and fail, and what their opinions will be of me and people that I'm close to, and they'll think I'm half nuts and irresponsible, and they'll have all these negative blah, blah, blah. And he said, well, you know what, Paul? I can't tell you what to do. I would never try to. He says, but one thing I do know is 100 years from now, none of this is going to matter. Not this conversation, what you tried to start and couldn't do, or what you tried to start and did do, what people thought of you or think of you. In 100 years, we aren't going to be here to worry about it. And that resonated with me to this day. In fact, I fall back on that statement probably 3 times a week, because whenever I get myself into a position where I'm uncomfortable, or it's a bad day, or it's a really good day, and I'm feeling smug about myself, or I'm feeling dejected, or I'm feeling angry, I have a way now. I've been practicing this for over 30 years, where I just say, you know what, Paul, in 100 years, none of this is going to matter. And it seems to take whatever I'm going through, whatever I'm experiencing, be it good or be it bad, and kind of put it in its place. And it just diminishes it down to a level of, it just was that. It was today. Tomorrow's going to bring its new challenges. So why don't you just, relax about all this. Another guy, when I had discussed the similar topic about public opinion, about what people think of me, if I do something and it screws up, or if I do something really embarrassing. I don't know about you guys, but I've done a number of things in my life where it was just abject embarrassing. It was just, I made such a fool of myself on one level or another, and I would be laying in bed for days, sometimes just playing the movie of my screw up in my head over and over and over again. And it wasn't, the screw up was done, but it was like, what are people saying about me? What are they thinking about me? Where do I stand with all these guys? They must think I'm a total, what? And I was expressing that to another guy named Stan, and he looked me in the blues and he said, you know what, Paul? don't worry about what people think of you, because they seldom do. And I love that statement also. And it's true, because while I may be consumed with shame or guilt or embarrassment or whatever, I think, because it's all meism, right? It's all about me. It's number one, and I did this horrible thing, and in my mind, I did a horrible thing, or an embarrassing thing, or a stupid thing, or a failure, and I think that everybody in the room is looking at me and finding me guilty. You know, I just like got my head down, and probably they don't give it any thought whatsoever. An example of that is in the reverse. Is I was out, oh gosh, over a year and a half ago, and a friend of mine here in Dumagetti got really, really drunk and was crying the blues and whining on about his life and whatnot. And you know what? Me and two other guys managed to pour him into a guy's car and get him driven home. And that was that. All three of us, the guys that helped him, have been there and done that, just like this guy. I'm not going to name him. And we didn't give it a second thought. But for 4 days, he kept contacting us and apologizing. He was under the impression that all we did after he left and we got him home and he threw up on his shoes or whatever and had said all these crazy things at the bar about his life, and he was this and he was that. You know what? The three of us just said, well, he was torqued. And the other two would respond and say, yeah, I've been there and I've done that more than once. And me too. And that was our conversation about this guy. We didn't judge him. We didn't think less of him. We just thought he was a human being. But he went home and dwelled on it, just like I had dwelled on it. So I eventually bumped into him, and he must have tried to apologize to me for the 8th time. And I won't say his name, but I made that quote to him. I said, quit worrying about what people think of you, because they seldom do. They're more worried about what they're doing and what happened. And buddy, 100 years from now, it just isn't going to matter to any of us because we're all going to be dead. That's kind of the long and the short of it. I think that it would be interesting if you guys could comment about what you think about that. And maybe for me, it's been able to help me kind of prioritize what I want to do in life the rest of the years that I have left. I set a goal to come out here way back, as I expressed, even before 2010. After 2005, when I first visited Southeast Asia, I said I want to become a minimalist and I want to live there. And here I am doing that. I don't know how it happened, but I just never stopped thinking about it. I have 0 regrets about being over here. I was able to cast aside a lot of stuff, and when I say stuff, I mean mental stuff and also physical stuff. I have found that the less stuff that I have, the better I feel, the more freedom I experience. And you know what? I guess in 100 years, none of that's going to matter either. All right, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye.